Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we've got some of the biggest and most incredible superheroes in the rundown.
Plus, we strap in for a high-speed behind-the-scenes look at Mad Max Fury Road.
He looked at me!
And then we have more post-apocalyptic Australian mayhem with a review of Mad Max Fury Road. Also coming up, we find out if the new movie Good Kill is any good. Marvel takes us on a future fight and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. And I don't have any superpowers. I know it's hard to believe, but I do have the uncanny ability to bring you the rundown. We've been waiting more than a decade for a sequel to The Incredibles, but we won't have to wait much longer. Speaking with Collider director Brad Bird revealed that the sequel to his 2004 animated superhero movie will be his next project now that he's finished his action-adventure film, Tomorrowland. Bird says that he's already begun thinking about new ideas for the story and characters and adds that he plans to recycle old ideas that he couldn't fit into the original movie. Disney and Pixar officially announced that an incredible sequel was on the way last year, much to the delight of fans everywhere, including this one. We'll keep you up to date with the latest on the film. In the meantime, Brad Bird's Tomorrowland hits theaters next week.
You want to go?
The next Avengers movie will be the biggest superhero film ever made. Avengers Infinity War Parts 1 and 2 will be shot entirely with IMAX cameras, making them the first Hollywood movies to be shot from start to finish in the jumbo-sized format. Although many other films have shot in IMAX for select sequences, no scripted movie has ever used them to shoot everything because they're bigger, louder, and more expensive to use. Infinity War won't have the same problems. Director Joe and Anthony Russo will be using a next-generation IMAX camera designed specifically for Hollywood productions, so they'll be more filmmaker-friendly. The Russo brothers will have some practice, too, because they plan to shoot portions of their next film, Captain America Civil War, with the same IMAX cameras. They'll need all the screen space they can get because Civil War will feature Cap, along with Iron Man, Ant-Man, Falcon, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Vision, War Machine, and Scarlet Witch, and probably Spider-Man as well. They might as well call it an Avengers movie.
How are you guys planning on beating that? Together.
A super heroic rundown. Who else but Marissa Roberto could help me distill all of this information? Avengers is coming back as a huge, ginormous sequel, and they obviously don't want to squander that opportunity. They're shooting everything on IMAX. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, first I think that I shouldn't have worn a DC superhero shirt for this discussion.
It's all right.
It's okay. That's fine. I really am not bothered by any of this stuff. I know you notice it when we're sitting in the theaters, and when you're watching it at home, but I don't.
Yeah, in terms of aspect ratio, I think what really this means is for people that go to IMAX to see some of these movies, they're going to see the entirety of the film, both films, you know, in pristine condition. They're not shooting it in 3D, which is kind of strange. They're just using a traditional 2D IMAX camera, but these things are bigger and bulkier and louder and more complex to shoot with, so I kind of understand why they wanted to go 2D, and I guess they'll up-convert to 3D.
Yeah, which is cheating.
A little bit, yeah, but you know, did you see Avatar on IMAX by any chance?
I did.
Yeah, because the fidelity is just incredible when you're talking about blowing these things up to these massive pixels.
Yes.
I can't wait to see all of these.
It is beautiful.
The cast is so enormous for the Avengers. I'll be surprised if the Incredibles aren't also included in the Avengers. But Brad Bird is moving on to the more Incredibles. I love this movie. It's up there as one of my favorite Pixar films. I loved all of the different characters, and I can't wait to see what they do with this.
Well, it's a really good movie, number one. But number two, you're falling in love with characters that are human.
Yeah, and it's a great family story as well, right?
It's so great to watch with your family, with little kids, just young and old, perfectly done. And of course, I'm a big fan of Brad Bird, so I'm really excited about this.
And he's moving on to it right away, so there's no more waiting for this thing. It surprises me that there's been sequels to Cars and you know, other types of movies that Pixar has done that really didn't deserve them, I feel.
No, you're right about that.
And this should have been a series, you know? This could have been a really cool superhero series, but Disney owns all of these superheroes, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to visit Disney World in the next few years.
And when are we going to get the Big Hero 6 Incredibles mashup?
Okay, let's just relax.
Okay, all right. All right, well, we will relax as we try to go behind the scenes and relax with Mad Max Fury Road.
My world is fire and blood. My name is Max. Max is all about From a character point of view, a man who's got a tremendous amount of trauma and horror in his life, who wants to be left alone, who gets snatched up by somebody who makes him part of their livestock and assets. He becomes an object to them. And all he wants to do is go home. But he doesn't have a home, and he's going mad. And so he's got to get away, and in getting away, people want him back, and he just wants to get further and further and further away to get home, wherever home is. It's not here, because wherever he touches turns to death and sadness and just misery. So in meeting the girls and meeting Furiosa, it can't end well. Nothing's good and everything hurts out there, and that's what Furiosa says to them. Everything is painful, everything hurts out here. And that's what, they're very similar characters. Of course they meet, and of course there's a relationship, an unspoken understanding and a recognition.
This idea that she's kind of saving these women, to me, just didn't feel as interesting as they belong to a man who hurt her incredibly, and she's just had enough. And she's gonna take these women with her, and she's gonna take what matters to him the most. She's gonna take the most valuable thing away from him because he took the most valuable thing away from her. It really is the ultimate story of revenge that starts this woman's drive off. And there were little things that geared us in a direction, and George was always so willing to go there with me. God bless him. You can't do this stuff alone, and unless somebody kind of embrace that thought process, you can't do it. And he was with me. I mean, we were really eye to eye on that. And little things like the fact that she would never call them by their names, that she didn't want to know their names, because she knew the world that they were going into, and there's no room for attachment.
And then
they're looking for hope.
what about you?
Redemption.
These characters, these war boys, they grow up as like kind of mechanics when they're younger, and then if they're lucky and they survive long enough, they become drivers. They worship the machines around them. And I'm a little bit of a car nut, a petrol head anyway, so the idea of basically glorifying the machines and becoming a machine is what they want. So my character has a big scarification on his chest of a V8 engine block, and then he's got these tumors on his neck called Larry and Barry, who are kind of his pals but are also killing him. He's kind of on his deathbed when you meet him at the beginning of the film. This is a world without much food. They're living on bugs and stuff. So we had to lose a fair bit of weight and kind of not look too healthy for it. Shave the hair.
He looked at me! He looked right at me!
People are working on this film that weren't born when we made the first one. It's an extraordinary position to be in as an actor. The scale of it is mind-boggling. How many people to breakfast? I don't know, what, 1,000? In the middle of the desert, tents that are bigger than a football field. And there's people serving food in there, and then outside there's a desert storm that would make you... It's unthinkable. The logistic, the people working, all those people behind the cameras, all that crew, all those stunt people, all the mechanics, all that. Unthinkable, the amount of oomph to get out there and do that every single day. Me, the Immortan, it was like a prep school boy's dream.
Mad Max Fury Road opens today in theaters, and we're going to have a review later on in the show.
Ooh, up next, Vic and Scott review a movie about drone warfare. Sounds pretty heavy. That's after the break.
Blew away 6 Taliban in Pakistan just today. Now I'm going home to barbecue.
Yeah, right.
Welcome back to EP Daily. War is being waged more remotely than it ever has before.
Drones are not only being used to buzz Marissa's apartment 24/7, thank you, nerds. They're also being used to wage war over long distances, as we learned in the new movie, Good Kill.
I hate drones, though. Why can't all robots just be more like R2-D2?
So friendly.
But is Good Kill a good movie? Vic and Scott have the answer.
Is that real? You ever get to, like, fly in a war or something?
Blew away 6 Taliban in Pakistan just today. Now I'm going home to barbecue.
Yeah, right.
Vic and I went to the movies. We saw a movie called Good Kill. I had no idea what this was about. I hadn't seen any trailers. I didn't even know Ethan Hawke was in it, but he is in it, and so is our old friend Bruce Greenwood. Is that right?
Yeah.
January Jones, who, of course, you know from Mad Men. She
And
plays
Zoe
Don
Kravitz, Lenny Kravitz's daughter's in
Well,
this
I was
too.
still talking, but okay,
Yes,
Zoe Kravitz is
yes.
in it as well. January Jones, I wanted to give her a shout out. Mad Men's coming to an end. This is the kind of movie she's going to be making.
Right.
Or maybe not. I don't know. Good Kill is about drone warfare, the little planes that hover 10,000 feet above war zones and decimate the people on the ground. You just keep an eye on things, sometimes decimate. And I've always wanted to see a movie like this.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept,
But
isn't it?
this isn't the movie that I wanted to see, though.
Well, it just feels like it's an after-school special, like trying to be so pessimistic and so clearly not objective about the subject matter, and all we see is the deterioration of Ethan Hawke's character over the course of the movie time. His sanity starts to escape him because he's got this remove from all of the good kills that he is accomplishing.
Good kill.
And yes, this is timely content, it's in the news right now, but it just felt like we were being thumped over the head for the whole movie to say drones are bad.
We like to dress it up in fancy language. Prosecuting a target. Surgical strike. Neutralizing the threat. Make no mistake about it. We are killing people.
Whenever we see one of these great war movies, we're always kind of waiting for the ways in which the main character psychologically deteriorates. Here, what Ethan Hawke's character wants is he wants to go back to the real war, where people drop real bombs and fly real planes and stuff like that. But instead, he has to suffer with this remote war that they play inside of little enclosed areas where they're playing. It's like they're playing PlayStation and Xbox, and they make lots of references to video games over the course of this movie.
They do, and there are a couple of moments where there are peaks in the film, and you've got a couple of interesting speeches, really, from Bruce Greenwood, who goes out in front of a bunch of recruits and says, this isn't effing PlayStation, you know, like when you press the button, somebody really dies. I liked some of those grounded moments, but then
listen,
they kept coming back, though. That was the problem.
Always.
They overdid
it's
it.
a series of didactic, insulting speeches for anybody who has an opinion about remote warfare.
Yes.
You know where it's all going to come down. You know the people are going to look like jerks. Everything in this movie is so predictable, and it doesn't go in any direction or inhabit any organic space that you kind of want a war movie to inhabit. I don't feel like I learned anything from this, even though I wanted to see a movie about remote warfare.
The one thing that I will applaud Andrew Niccol, who is a good writer-director who's given us some great movies before, I liked his camera positioning style. I liked the antiseptic locked-off camera shots and lots of stillness and lots of moments that way, which is in direct contrast to something like The Hurt Locker, which was trying to project the out-of-breath craziness of what Jeremy Renner's character was going through in that film. Because this is so staid and antiseptic, the way that they're dealing with these good kills. And I think that was the right choice there, but many, many poor choices in terms of fleshing out an interesting story with some real gravitas, real sort of meat to sort of latch onto.
I just think there is a better movie here, and we'll see it maybe in a year or two, but this is not the great movie that I was hoping for.
No, not at all. It's a disappointment, and it's another disappointment in movie choices
and for Ethan Hawke.
For Ethan Hawke, because he is a good performer, and I think he does some fine work in here. I think Bruce Greenwood does. I think January Jones does. But they don't get a lot. They don't get a lot to work with. This is pretty dismal stuff. What are you going to give Good Kill?
4.5.
Yeah, same from me. 4.5.
The funny thing is, when Vic's down on something like that, he kind of does my job for me. Oh, sir, I agree with you 100%. Yes, well said.
Okay, this is not a therapy session. This is work. Please try to remember that in the future, Jones. Up next, we've got more reviews for you after this.
My world is fire and blood. My name is Max.
EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Dungeon Hunter 5, which you can play for free on iOS and Android right now.
Alas, my prophecy has proven true. We do not have Avengers games to play on our consoles right now, and we do have a bunch of different Marvel Avengers titles to play on iOS, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, particularly if we're talking about Future Fight. This is from a company called Netmarble, and it is absolutely a pocket-sized distillation of some of the stuff that we saw in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. You get to create a team of 3 and jump into these bite-sized levels and action RPG your way through all all kinds of fisticuffs. The environments aren't incredibly amazing or anything like that. There are some destructible bits, and there's lots of stuff to collect. This is a free-to-play game, and you're going to be dealing with a bunch of different economies that are constantly in your face, asking you for purchasing crystals and coins and opening chests, unlocking new heroes. You know the drill. But the core design of this game is actually really fun. It's really addictive, and it's really cool to level up these characters. You can cheap your way through this game and still have a really good time. It's solidly built, and I am impressed. I feel like the fidelity and the quality of the experiences, even in this free-to-play kind of realm, is improving all the time, and this one's a winner. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Another Marvel game, another happy day for Victor Lucas. Now, earlier in the show, we took a behind-the-scenes look at Mad Max Fury Road, but for a more personal opinion, here's our review.
You said a few vehicles in pursuit, maybe. We count 3 war parties.
It's been a tremendously long wait for a new Mad Max movie, but it was worth it. Mad Max Fury Road is out in theaters today. And what did you think, my friend?
Yes. Victor Lucas, my face hurts. It hurts so bad because I was stuck in this reeling. I couldn't, cringing. I couldn't stop while I was watching this movie because there's just so much crazy on the screen.
Yeah, mostly from the visual choreography and the stunt work and the way that the camera moves in this thing. This is a tour de force. Yeah. George Miller is not a young man, but holy crap, does this movie feel vibrant, alive, and visceral. And I'm thinking these guys were hopping in and out of these vehicles for the entirety of this movie. These stunt people are diving and hanging off of sticks, and people are hanging onto the sides of trucks. It's incredible.
It is incredible, and we should talk about the story a little bit here. Now, this is my first experience with a Mad Max film.
Oh
yes,
my God.
Really. So I didn't know any of the backstory of Mad Max. I'm just seeing Tom Hardy for the first time eating a lizard.
Yep.
Two-headed lizard, by the way, just eating it, no big deal. And then he gets captured by this group of crazies and take them back to their base. And this base is just where this big old man lives, and he controls everything. He also has women hooked up to, he has sex slaves, but he also has them hooked up to milk machines because everyone drinks mother's milk. So all of these visuals are just coming at you constantly.
And there is no over-explanation. This is just the champion of dystopian nightmares, this series, this franchise. And I definitely suggest that you see the other Mad Max movies. With this movie, Miller puts himself on the Game of Thrones for making dystopian, nightmare, future vision, desert-based movies. And it's hard not to see all of the influences. You see a lot of visual cues to things that have borrowed from Mad Max. But this is the originator, this guy and this franchise, and it's incredible to see it again.
It does feel like a movie on its own, though. I wouldn't think, while I was watching it, that there were movies that came before this one, which I think is a testament to the direction and also the story here, because it didn't actually feel like it needed to be pieced together with anything else. This holds its own, and I love that because we've been seeing so many movies lately that you know is going to be attached to something else.
Right, or is a reboot or a remake.
A reboot, a remake, and there's so many of those happening, and I was so enthralled with it. There was a moment where I saw the whole scene and I thought, wow, this is just all green screen. This is all special effects. This is all visual effects. And I got taken out of it for a second, but the story just pulls you right back in because there's always action. There's always something going on. And Charlize Theron is unbelievable.
She's Furiosa.
Freaking great. She's so powerful. Not only her, but the other women in this film that you're seeing. And this movie, there's so much power given to both sexes here.
Yeah. That stands out. It just feels so anachronistic. Right now, there aren't a lot of movies that are made like this. Most movies are made with superheroes or sci-fi things right now. It's all CG painted, and stuff doesn't really get made like this. This has a vitality that evokes Raiders of the Lost Ark, and honestly, it evokes the 80s. It evokes that 80s rogue action picture, like the first Terminator. You get that sense like, holy crap, these people just really committed and they built something wonderful and special. But I feel like the movie is just a chase scene for most of the film, and that's exhilarating, but I still wouldn't have minded a little more fleshing out of the Max character. But maybe this sets it up. Maybe this is the beginning of more to be told.
I hope he comes back. I hope there's something between Max and Furiosa.
Yeah.
I really want that.
Yeah.
That girl is badass. They would make amazing babies.
I know, and I want to see more Furiosa. What are you going to give Mad Max Fury Road?
I think it's a 9.
9.5 from me.
Mad Max Fury Road hits theaters today. Be careful driving home out there tonight, people. And listen, after the break, we answer a Twitter question after this.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Electric Playground. It is time for our Twitter question of the day. This one is from our old pal Ryan at Rybo_. Tom Hardy wants to play the Punisher. Yes or no? Movie or TV? If Tom Hardy wants to play the Punisher, he'll probably be the Punisher, and he'll only do it as a movie, I would imagine.
Yeah, he'll just be in the movie for sure. I'm not ready to see him on the small screen, although he would be good at that as well.
Yeah. He can do anything he wants, pretty much.
He can do anything he wants. Listen, we watched this guy just talk to people over his Bluetooth in a car for an hour and a half.
It was
and
awesome.
And it was so compelling.
That is the movie Locke, which you should see. It's very cool. Yeah.
But I just feel like he's already been Bane, and you know how he sounded in that.
Yeah, I know how he sounded.
Yeah. We got it. We got
no,
to do it.
Yeah, well, it's terrible. I think it's too on the nose, and I think Marvel should surprise us with their Punisher.
Sure, but he would make an amazing Punisher.
He would be incredible, yeah.
Of course.
Good question. If you want to ask us a question or get caught up on our shows, go to epn.tv.
We're going to leave you now with a look at a new mobile MOBA game that was tough to say. It's called Call of Champions.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Dungeon Hunter 5, which you can play for free on iOS and Android right now.
Do each of the characters obviously have their own sets of abilities and different tactics that they can use?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got full range of RPG stuff. We got AoEs and pushes and pulls and beams and projectiles and things like that. We also took our boss AI from our previous games and let us have a very extensive bot system. So all of the characters are also played by bots. If I'm logged in and playing and I drop on a phone call, a bot will take over immediately for me, and then if I jump back in, I'll take over for the bot. So no more rage quit, no more of that.